Hi, and welcome to Tech Tuesday. I am so glad that you're here today. And I've got a great guest lined up for you, someone who's going to be able to show us how to support workforce challenges. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and run our intro. My special guest today is Bill Fisher. He is with Beomni. Bill, as all things happen, right before a show, there's sometimes some technical glitches. I get it. It happens. So anyone who's following along with us right now,
Abbie, I hate to tell you this, but I cannot hear you.
You cannot hear me. Okay. Well, let's see.
And I'm going to have to switch back to my internal microphone because the external does not appear to be working.
Okay, Bill.
But I do not understand why I'm not hearing you.
Yeah, Bill, I am sorry about that.
You were in the lobby, but now I'm getting no audio at all.
Okay.
Let me pull that cord out. Maybe that was damaging it.
I'm just going to. Okay, good. So someone told me that they can hear you. They can hear both of us, but you cannot hear me, right?
I am now able to hear you.
You are. Okay. Super.
Yeah, we're all good.
God.
Yes, technology is never simple.
Yes, I know. It's I heard it's 80% of the time it works okay, right? And then 20% we've got some glitches.
Yeah, my official statement on the subject is technology is great except when it's not.
Absolutely. And we're all in the same boat together. So now that you're hearing me, I'm hearing you.
I just lost your audio again.
Oh,
goodness gracious. I don't know what's going on. Never had problems like this.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is I am going to introduce you and have you come back on. Yeah. And Bill, can you hear me okay? Yeah? Well, let me go ahead.
I'm not hearing audio again. I don't know what's wrong.
All right. Okay. Well,
now I'm hearing audio.
Okay. Excellent. Good. Let's keep it that way, right? So
I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry.
No problem.
It keeps switching. I'm really sorry. Something is switching on my machine without my control that is shutting off audio.
Yeah, maybe it's just not plugged in well enough or something, or
okay, we're
in
good.
any case. All right, no problem. It happens all the time. It happens to the best of us, right? We get it, and it's part of the beauty of being live. Yes, that's right. Put your hands. Let's just lean back, take a deep breath, and try to proceed here. That would be awesome. Bill, go ahead. While you have audio, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name's Bill Fisher. I'm COO of Beyond Imagination, a robot company that's doing state-of-the-art humanoid robots with a thinking AI brain. We're very excited to be here and talk about what kind of things that we can do in the many markets where robots are going to help people improve their jobs and improve the way they do business and make life better for everybody in the world.
Absolutely. There's such a future in this. I want to know from you, how long have you been working in robotics?
I've been working in robotics for about 3-4 years now. Prior to that, I was actually one of the very first video game programmers in the world. I created a number of video games back in the 1980s and then started my own company. And I've been doing all sorts of different kinds of technology. So it's been, games, education, military training, medical devices, and now robots for healthcare, among other things. So it's a long trip, but it's been a very interesting one and always a new technology challenge to take on.
Yeah. And How do you see Beomni developing, especially since you've been with the company for several years?
It's been a great process because we started out with literally a base that had a stick on it with an arm, and that was the original first prototype of the robot. Can we get the arm to do what we wanted to do? And we had to develop a lot of it remotely. It's been an interesting challenge because of the pandemic. We actually had we were not able to visit our own robot for a long time in the lab because we couldn't travel, and so it was kind of challenging. But what's been fun is seeing it evolve over time as we use it in actual practical applications like at True Pace Community Center, and see it in action, and then discover what people want, how they react to it, what they like, what they don't like.
Yeah, and so you mentioned something about seeing it in action. And I think sometimes, a video can tell 1,000, stories for us. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to queue up the this video I have here about Beomni in the True Pace Center. And while I'm doing that, tell me about how you filmed this, what your goal was, that type of thing.
What we did is we went to True Pace. We spent a full week there. True Pace is a community center that's an outpatient type of clinic. In other words, what they try to do is keep people in their homes, but they give them a full suite of care, from healthcare to socialization, parties, all range of medical treatment, and it's an all-inclusive type package. Really interesting model. Dr. David Wenzel runs True Pace and was a big collaborator of ours in helping out make this possible. So he invited us in and let us meet with the staff, let us meet with the patients, and try it out from every possible angle. Do the nurses, do the doctors, and do the patients like interacting with the robot? And the answer was yes. 100% of them thought it was a lot of fun. And it's not every day that you get that reaction from technology. So
you're absolutely right about that. I'm going to go ahead and play this. Feel free to narrate or speak over it if you want to.
okay.
Here we go.
It's your first chance to see the actual robot. This is the real robot.
I'm Ryan Heasley. I'm a nurse practitioner for geriatrics at True Pace in Lafayette, Colorado. I love caring for people and their families and supporting people at the last stages of their life. I would like to see Beonmi in the homes caring for my chronically ill patients who are unable to care for themselves. And they may need help with activities of daily living. Continuity of care is very important in the later stages of life, not only with recognizing the person, establishing a rapport and trusting that person, but also understanding where they come from, the environment around them, the family, as well as other community dynamics that may be affecting their care. So really having that person that understands them holistically as a person at that stage in life is going to improve the quality of care that's being provided.
Oh, I just love that. That was phenomenal. Thank you for making that available to us. Some of the things that I love about it are how it can be like an extra set of hands, an extra set of eyes when you don't have it. I got to tell you, as a working mom and as an entrepreneur, I could see how this would support me all the time in my own home. And what I saw Beomni taking a temperature, right? And I saw Beomni doing deliveries. And what else did we see in there?
We saw a little bit of the remote doctor and or nurse operating the robot. And so one of the things that's exciting about this is that it's not a completely automated robot. It's not just a machine. It's a person who happens to be present within that machine at your location. And this opens up vast vistas that have never existed before, where a nurse, a doctor, or a family member can visit remotely via Beomni. Imagine what this would have been like had we had this during the peak of the COVID with people in ICU who couldn't be visited by their family. But the Beomni, you could go into the room because it's just a robot and talk more personally and use hand gestures. You watch the robot as its head is doing this and this and this like a human, because it's really a human behind the scenes. So there's a lot that goes on with that, and that's one of the big virtues of what we're trying to bring here is this human interaction over a remote connection.
But if it's conducted and if it's controlled by a human and the workforce shortages are occurring right now, how long would it take for Beomni to get up to speed to do that work independently?
Well, that's a great question, and that is exactly the right way to look at this, because what we're doing is right now it is initially controlled by a human pilot. And imagine this is the same way that Tesla cars started out being driven just by people. And eventually they started being driven more and more by automated systems that were trained for that particular purpose. Now we're approaching our AI a little differently that we think has advantages, especially in the medical field. But it's the same kind of principle of it will learn by observation, learn by doing. And over the next few years, as we put these into facilities, it will learn to do the more basic tasks all by itself with a minimum of supervision. So for example, the deliveries, it could do almost entirely on its own. It knows what the map of the facility is. That's not changing. The building's not typically moving around. And so it knows where the room is, and it can pick up the supplies, the towels, the diapers, whatever it needs, and put them on the cart, and then take them to a particular room. So that's one thing it can do. But eventually, it'll also be able to do things like make a sandwich. We're planning to teach it. This is a piece of bread, this is a piece of cheese, this is meat, this is mayo or mustard, and these are how you construct it. And it's a long process. I won't go into all the details, but Dr. Klor and Ray Kurzweil, one of our founders, have a tremendous background in AI, and they've come up with this system for how to do it that'll really work. So over time, it's going to become more and more automated, which means that you can have multiple robots controlled by a single human. So you can have that human supervising a fleet of Beomni, each of which is going, say, to a different wing of the facility and watching over patients and checking in on them and so forth. And then saying, hey, this is Beomni number 2. Can you come and talk to Mrs. Smith in room 12? I think she'd like to talk to you about something. And save time. Ultimately, the principle here is we're trying to make it so that the doctors and the nurses can do what they do best, which is interacting with patients and helping them as person-to-person interaction, and not doing make work and not doing busy work and not doing frustrating things that they hate to do anyway. All the tedious stuff we want to take away.
Right. And I know when we were talking the other day, we talked about the deliveries, right? And how Beomni could also do that with the wheels already in place and make those deliveries. Because when I'm in senior living communities, I'm seeing the golf carts going everywhere, delivering food, delivering packages. And I think that there has got to be a better way to manage that workforce use.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the big things we're trying to do is all the tedious work, all the stuff that's very mechanistic, that doesn't require advanced skill. We can take that type of thing and automate it to the extent that all of a sudden the people who are doing that before are now freed up to interact with humans instead of just move boxes around.
Now, I did see Beomni do something that I thought was a lot more than just a basic skill, and that was making an omelet. I don't know that everyone can do that. So, and I saw that in one of the videos here. I want to cue that up, okay? Because this is not basic. This is more of an advanced skill that.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay. Let me cue this up. I think this is pretty cool. Give me just a minute to do this, and let me know if there's anything you would like to add to this video as I run it. Okay.
I will, for sure.
We go. Okay. I don't even think I can do this myself. So here we go.
And the best part about this is there's no audio here, so I can narrate. This is actually one of the very first tests we did when we put the robot together. We put one of our controllers, one of our pilots, into the robot and said, here's a bell pepper. Start slicing it. See if you can do it. And this is the result. I mean, it is an intuitive interface. We haven't talked a lot about this. I didn't mention this to you at all, but we have a pair of gloves that fit over the hands that you use to control the fingers of the robot. So you're doing this, and in the background, the robot, or in the other place, the robot is doing exactly what you tell it to do. And you can see with your own eyes with the stereo, so you can have the virtual reality headset on. You see that in 3 space moving around, picking up that salt. Where the bowl is, you know where to drop the salt because you know where the bowl is, and so forth. And likewise with the pepper and so forth. So that's basically a lot of what we do here. And again, this is something where it would learn over time. This is done with a human pilot, but we're going to train it to do this with, say, humans making a dozen or 2 dozen omelets, and then we put it into a virtual environment. We haven't even talked about that. We won't go into that today, but there's a whole virtual world that the robot lives in that will train it in different situations with a different pan, with different vegetables in the pan, with different utensils available for stirring the eggs, and all these different things. All that can be done in a simulated space, which causes it to be able to act like a human. Because one of the hardest things for an AI to do is to have common sense, to know what to do in a given situation. And the way we handle this is that we give it a constrained place to work in. You know, here's the stove, here's the pan, here's the eggs. And we also vary it a lot so that it understands that, you know, if the handle on the pan is left or right, it's still a pan and it's still got an omelet in it. Anyway, we can go into all that in a lot more detail if people have questions, but it's all part of the advanced artificial intelligence that has now been freed up by the tools that we're using and that we're leveraging all the work that's gone before us.
We're getting a lot of people who are commenting and saying things like, "Oh, this is amazing. I want one of these in my home. I do too. I'd be happy to test it and program it for you as well." Because
Awesome.
send one my way, because these are skills that are so valuable. And to be able to see a robot do this gives me the confidence in knowing that this is where we're headed in terms of augmenting or reinforcing our workforce. So what else is the robot especially designed for?
Augmenting the workforce is the real buzzword here, and that's a great one. I'm glad you brought that up, because augmentation and being, you know, if the military, they call it a force multiplier. You know, we sometimes say that the Beomni will multiply the effectiveness of the workforce. Another example would be in the clinic. Let's go back to the clinic here. One of the concerns that I would always have with being in a clinic of a medium size is, well, what if a specialist is needed? What if, you know, Mrs. Smith, again, it turns out that she was actually having an issue with her heart monitor or with her pacemaker, and she really needs to be checked out, at least with a face-to-face interview with the doctor. You know, how are you feeling? What's your pain? Look them in the eyes, potentially, you know, pick up their hands and talk to them for a moment. With Beomni, that doctor in 5 minutes. The doctor does not need to drive to the facility. So if it happens to be on a Saturday night at 9 p.m. or just the wrong time of day for the particular physician who happens to be in that facility, or if that physician doesn't happen to be a cardiac specialist, all of a sudden you can call, and online a doctor could show up there with the specialty that's needed, have a conversation with the patient and say, tell you what, I'm going to order an ambulance. We'll take you to the ICU. Or, no, this is fine. I know what's going on. This is the reaction that you've had with your medication before, because here's the other buzzword that I want to make sure we cover: continuity of care.
Okay.
Ryan mentioned it in her interview, and it was one of the big things that we learned when we went to True Pace, was about, because we are not medical people primarily, we learned about, oh, that's what continuity of care is. Oh, now I understand that you want the same person treating you always. And if we can make up a world where you can be in a senior care facility with a fairly large number of people and yet still interact with your own personal favorite doctor via Beomni. So it's not just a doctor, it's the doctor or the nurse or the physical therapist that you're normally working with. It's known, right? I mean, the people I'm sure who are listening here know that improves outcomes. And if we can do that, that's an absolutely amazing outcome. Um, so that's the first thing. The second thing is we talked a little bit about Beomni in my home, and you mentioned that and I wanted to follow up on that. We believe ultimately in a Beomni in every home. Now it's not going to happen right away. It's going to be too expensive early on because it's the cost of an expensive Tesla car, and eventually it'll be the cost of a cheap Tesla. But when you look at it on a monthly basis, it's actually going to be a lot cheaper than a human being who comes to your house all the time. So it's entirely financially viable. Let's just make that short statement and we can delve into that more if people have questions. But the real point is that you can have your family members, the doctors, and the treatment people from the senior care facility visiting you at home. If you're not at a stage where you need to be checked in, you can still live at home. And this is a marvelous experience. But it's not just the doctors, it's also family members. You can go make your mom an omelet.
Interesting. I think I'd have to see that in action to really see how Beomni would fulfill that same feeling of having your daughter or another family member in the space with you. But I want to ask you a question, okay? What is it not good for? I want to talk about what it's not good for, what it's not intended for, because we've talked about a lot of things that it's really good for. What do you think it's not good for?
Oh my gosh, that's a really great question. I don't usually think in those terms.
All right.
It's not good for things that require, well, let's say it's not going to do surgery.
Okay.
It's not going to stitch you up. Now, eventually it may stitch you up, but it's certainly not going to do open heart surgery. We're not building a robot like that. That's not really its goal. Similarly, it's not right now at a stage where it's going to be able to lift heavy objects and move them around. That's a little bit beyond its capabilities today. We can build a custom robot that can do that, but right now it doesn't do that. It can go upstairs, it can go outside, it can open doors, it can do all sorts of different things. The list of what it can do is much longer than the list of what it can't do. And that's part of the excitement of this, because it really is an omni-purpose robot. That's what we're calling it, Beomni, the omni-purpose robot, because there are so many different things it can do. And that's distinct from many other robots, which have fairly limited scope of ability. So it's, there are things that it can't do, but there are a lot more things that it can.
I want to ask you about the interaction with the residents. I've seen some footage where Beomni's interacting with residents, maybe at an event or a party or an exercise class. Tell me about that, please.
That was one of the best parts of going to True Pace, because, that was our first time that the robot had ever been taken out into public with the end users, the people we were actually thinking of interacting with, and we wanted to gauge the reaction. Is this a good experience for them? Are they reacting positively? And one of the things that you'll notice is that our robot doesn't look like most other robots that are out there. It's got a very much more approachable design. It's a blue color. It's not black and white. It doesn't feel like it's going to hurt you or intimidate you, which a lot of the other robots, you have this big giant black plastic thing or white plastic thing that's coming at you. It's a little bit scary. And so it's designed very carefully to be friendly and approachable. And what we found is that the guests all asked to please have the robot come to the party. They wanted the robot at the party. And when the robot was there, the reaction was, and this is coming directly from the nurses, they told us this afterward. They said, people were getting up and interacting with the robot. You don't necessarily realize, guys, but these people don't normally get up and walk around and dance at a party. And yet they were doing it with the robot. They were actually dancing with the robot. And they were engaged by it. They were encouraged by it. They found it to be fun, different, and, exciting. And that's the usual response we've been getting. Everybody loved it. We were surprised. We were actually surprised that nobody said, oh, yuck, I don't want to be near a robot. Everybody thought it was great. So it was surprising in a good way.
I have another video I want to queue up here And this is specifically, I want to show you how the hands move, because I think that's also one area, you know, when you were saying, you know, how this stands aside from other robots and how it's so approachable. One thing that I'm really impressed with is the dexterity, because I know that as we age, we lose dexterity. I know that certain tasks are difficult, folding laundry, taking a pill lid off of a pill box, taking a lid off of a drink, for instance, or off of a jar. All these things are hard to do. So this video shows that. I want to just go ahead and cue that up here. There we go. And I will make this full screen as well and play it. Here we go. But I'm gonna ask you right here in the heart center, what's happening there? Because I'm seeing that there's like a generated graphic going on. What's happening there?
That is just showing that we do have a video, an LCD screen in the chest of the robot. And the reason we did that is because the robot can display all sorts of things there. Displays human face. It can display information about, please do this for me. If there's a payment situation involved, say it's in a retail situation, it could display, you know, the total number of total amount of money that you're owed, or that it owes you, that you owe it, and so forth and so on. So there's a wide variety. We just put up a simple display there to indicate that, yes, this is real. This is not, it's not a piece of plastic that's glowing. It's actually a full video screen that interacts with you.
Cool. Here we go.
You'll see a lot of things here which illustrate the dexterity of the robot and its ability to pick up many different types of objects. And this is very important because in the real world, an ice cube is a hard object. Here he goes picking up the ice cube and dropping it into the glass. We'll do a couple of those. But those limes are a soft object, and there's other things as well that you'll see in just a second. Now, this is the real trick coming up here. Look at that thumbs up gesture. The robot's able to see, I mean, the operator's able to see, so he's able to see, okay, this is exactly where that bottle opener is, and there's where the bottle is. I'm going to put the bottle opener over the bottle and twist it down, and bam, plop, there goes the top. What's fun about this is look at the level of skill with which the robot is pouring this and controlling the foam so that it doesn't go over the edge of the bottle. We've all had that, oops, I poured it too fast type situation. It's got a very subtle level of dexterity, as you pointed out. And then it looks at the bottle, takes it, puts it back down on the table, and makes sure that the Coke label is facing frontward. Coke is a sponsor of First Robotics, and we're actually partnered with First Robotics to promote the robot and promote their robotics competitions for children. So we did this for Coke, deliberately put the Coke logo in the video. And now he's picking up soft, yeah. Now he's putting up the soft, squishy object and dropping it in there. And now he's picking up another hard, long object, metal object, right?
It's so precise.
Very precise, very varied in what the robot is able to do.
Great.
And imagine doing this at the senior center. Okay, here's your beverage.
Amazing, amazing. Well, tell me, in all these videos and in your experience, where do you see this heading in terms of the next year, for instance?
Well, in the next year or two, we're in research and development mode, making real robots. We've got a couple that are going to go into test installations. We thought that we weren't going to deploy them for 2 years, but we've actually got about 4 or 5 potential customers right now asking us, please give us a robot so we can try it and refine it and train it and learn what it can and can't do. Everything from meatpacking plants to specialty manufacturing to biomanufacturing and inspecting aircraft, as well as senior health. So there's a lot of, the senior health area is a big one for us, actually. We think that's going to be one of our top markets. but there's many others as well. And so over the next few years, we're going to be building these robots, refining them, and in about 2 to 3 years, we're going to start selling these into the retail market and letting people try them. And so we can imagine senior facilities across the country each having 1 or 3 Beomni in it and actually using it in the real world to try it out and see how it works and supplement their staffs, because we know that that's a really critical issue. And we think there's going to be a tremendous amount of demand in just about every industry. This is what we're hearing from the potential customers, that, man, we need more people. If you could just make 1 person into 3, you'd save my life. And we can do that, and we can do it at an affordable rate.
Yeah, tell me about that. How affordable is it?
We haven't established an absolutely rock solid firm price, so I'm not officially giving any pricing right now. But like I said, the robot, the cost of building it is like the cost of building a fancy Tesla right now, and it's going to drop in less than half over time. We have people who say it's going to drop to a quarter of its original cost, well under $100,000 to build and sell the robot. And so you can imagine, if you take that and you start paying that on a monthly plan, it's X $1,000s a month, where X is a small number. And compare that to a human. If you've got, for example, if you've got somebody who's doing home care and getting paid $25, $35 an hour for 8 hours a day, times 3 people for near round the clock care, you can spend $200,000 a year on those people. Whereas if you could have robots doing 80% of that work, all of a sudden that 200,000 goes down to 50,000 or 75,000 when you include all the costs of the robot. And then you've got a human who's running 5 robots, something like that, from a remote facility most of the time. All of a sudden that human's cost is spread across 5x, plus the kids can help mom, and they don't, which means mom needs even less care, even less of those paid caregivers, because now the kids who live 2,000 miles away can be in their home and visit mom for an hour or 2, make sure she wakes up, make sure she takes her meds in the morning. Okay, they're all off to work or off to school, and then the caretakers come by in the Beomni and take care of it. So there's a massive amount of leverage that happens like 2 or 3 different ways. This is what we see happening in the next 5 years. We think it's going to be a very ubiquitous thing that's going to be quite affordable, given the value that it delivers. It's more valuable even than a car. When you think about it, a car, just gets you from one place to another, and in some cases looks cool while you're doing it. But a robot can do everything from clean your house, cook your food, water the garden, and 15 other things. It's
once it's been programmed and it's been trained to do that, right?
Right. And it's the ultimate, and it provides a higher degree of care than you get now, because the robot, let's say you have a concern about when you're sleeping. There's any number of medical conditions where you want to monitor somebody while they're asleep. The robot can be sitting there in the room watching you perfectly happily with its automated systems, and alert the call center and say, I think he's having trouble. I think there's a problem here. Can you come on in and take a look? And so this is even better than you get right now, because right now it's very hard to get somebody to do 24-hour a day around the clock care, right? And so we see that as a big boost down the road. We're just excited about it. So many.
I wanted to ask you about if there are people who want to see Beomni in action. Are there certain trade shows that you're going to be at this summer, this fall?
We very well might be. We're not sure yet. We went to the Consumer Electronics Show in January, and that was a big hit. There will be potentially some others. We also went to the Abundance 360 event with Peter Diamandis here in Los Angeles about 2 months ago, and to a private event in New York at the same time, actually. That was fun. Another story for another day. We don't have anything that's specifically scheduled yet, but we'll be happy to have live demos with people online if they want to see it on Zoom, they want to talk to us in person, dive into it in more detail, understand what their applications might be. And especially, to be honest, we are fundraising. And so one of the things we're looking for is a partner who can say, we have a specific need, and we have an investment fund that has X dollars, where X is not a huge number. We're not looking for vast amounts of money. We're trying to raise about $7 million right now because we're super efficient in what we do. But anyway, we're looking for people who would say, our medical center could use this, and I think we can cut a deal with you where we can bring a robot in and try it out. Let's just pay you to build one and bring it over, and then we'll be all set. So that's what we're hoping to do in the near term.
Sounds so neat. And, I would love to be on the programming side of that and the collective skills, right? It's just amazing. Bill, where can people find you for more questions?
The best thing we can do is you can go to beomni.ai. It's our website. We also have a WeFunder page, and tell you what, I can share a screen and show you this picture. And Abbie, I'll give you this picture afterwards that you can look at. Share screen. Okay. It's just asking me to do various things. Hang on. I will share my screen. I'll share a window actually, because I want to get the specific thing. There's preview app. There we go. Preview app. This will only take a second, I think.
Got some birds back there.
Oh, I can't do it. It's not letting me capture my screen.
Okay.
It's not letting me share. I'll send you an image. So it's Beomni.ai, and there's a WeFunder. I'll send you the link for that. It's a WeFunder/Beomni. As a matter of fact, I could even maybe put it in the comments. But let's see, can I do that?
Let's see. Yes, I'm pretty sure you can do that. Well, Bill, I just want to thank you for coming on today. I'm really excited to see how this grows, how it develops, how it gets implemented and into every senior living facility to help with workforce issues. And thank you for being here today. I apologize for the technical issues in the beginning, but we got it all worked out, and that's what matters, right?
Yep. It's inevitable in these Zoom type situations and online situations that there's always an odd, never before seen technical glitch that happens, especially when you go live. But we're used to it, and you rolled with it, and I rolled with it, and we got it done. So delighted to have had a chance to talk to everybody.
Likewise. Well, thank you for being here. And for our audience, thanks for being here today. Thank you for your wonderful comments and your questions. We're going to go ahead and repost this, and we will see you here next week.